What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bills Dolphins preview show. I'm your host, Alex. Please like, share, and subscribe. We're going to go over the review and recap of the Bills versus Dolphins. Happened last Thursday. Sorry about the delay on the recap, but I figured that a lot of these videos get flooded immediately, and maybe I can take advantage of a little bit of lag to that where people check it out later. This game went a little different than I thought it would, actually. I thought they had closed the gap a little bit, the Dolphins. And I'm not one to think that there is a psychological, I mean, I guess psychological advantages could be there, but I'm not one to look at history and go, well, I'm going to pick the Bills until the Dolphins beat them. I don't like that narrative at all. I think once the gap's closed, it's closed. But ultimately, this comes down to two things. We have Josh Allen and they have Tua Tagovailoa. There's a clear difference. And every time we play Tua, no matter who's back there, he tends to fold in the clutch or just play outright awful. And that's what we saw this game. I don't, he got hurt. My prayers are with him and his family. However, it was bad before that. And people are focusing, Tua fans are focusing a lot right now on his health because they know what looking at the real problem is damning and proves his fraudulent, skills as a quarterback. I think he's a fine quarterback. He's probably if we were to redraft every quarterback in the NFL, he's probably a pick 15 to 20 pick for most teams. His statistics show otherwise, but statistics can be deceiving. He stat pads against bad teams and against good teams like the Bills. He can't do it. And it's easy to take away what he does best. One thing I do notice about the Dolphins that's a little different this year, and I wanted to point out, I've seen it 2 weeks in a row now, so I have to assume it's a trend, is last year you saw them throw lots of concepts where it was like seam slant wheel, seam dig wheel. And what that means is you run a combination of a dig or a slant with a seam route and a wheel on the back end that takes the defense away from the middle of the field and allows the speed to hit the middle of the field a bunch. They've seemed to replace that with slants. With screen passes, bubble screens. Like the frequency they run those types of screens is astonishing. It's almost like they're trying to soften you up there and then hit the middle, where real quarterbacks with high end arm strength can attack the middle of the field in coverage, like you just saw there with Josh Allen, who made a multitude of throws over the middle of the field, 10 to 15 yards down the field into coverage where the defenders just didn't have enough time to get there. And it just feels weird. Like they're trying to utilize the outside. There's one of two options here that's happening is either they hear the noise about Tua's arm not being strong enough, which it's not, and they are trying to prove a point by throwing the ball to the outside instead of over the middle a whole bunch. Which is not out of character for the Dolphins, who tend to do anything they can possible to not expose their quarterback or to break a narrative on their quarterback and show that he's some legit franchise, changing player. Or that's legitimately their changeup. That was their wrinkle this year, was to add in. There's one of those throws in that throw right there. There's a legitimate change in culture to get away from those slants and digs over the middle. And those passing concepts, because they used them so much last year and they got taken away late. And then now they've pivoted to working the outside, but behind the line of scrimmage or just barely across the line of scrimmage with, screen passes, bubble screens, things like that, which made them insanely easy to defend, to be quite honest with you. And then we just ran, they call it a too high shell. Really, we just ran a lot of cover 4. Cover 6, cover 9, things like that to take away the big shots down the field. And then in addition to that, we just kind of muscled them a little bit. They just didn't have an answer to us when we bullied them, and which is kind of their MO. That's a cultural thing for them as an organization, which is more of a coaching issue. But the team typically takes the personality of the coach and the quarterback. Okay, so it's not just Mike McDaniel. McDaniel's play calling is fine. People are trying to rip him a little bit for his play calling, but honestly, it's not really that. It's he's changing it up. He changed it up this year. And the reason he changed it up is to keep teams on their toes and to make people stop, banking on the middle of the field and putting all their personnel there to make Tua throw it over the top of the linebacker in front of the safety. And now instead of throwing to the sideline, which is what most quarterbacks do to soften that up, they're throwing screens, which tells you what you need to know. The reason it's screens and not deep outs or corner routes, things like that, is because he's not effective throwing those plays into coverage. Like, he's going to make mistakes if he does it. Tua also threw 3 interceptions in this game, which were awful. The last one was just atrocious. He was trying to throw it away and didn't have enough arm strength to get it out of bounds. The first one was a ball that they're trying to defend like it was the receiver's fault. The receiver was getting it out of his break to start running either a crosser or a post because he hadn't got it out of his break yet. We don't really know what that was, but Tua hit him on his outside shoulder. It did hit his shoulder pad, but it was an awful throw. It was not placed well from the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. Sorry. And then the third one was a miscommunication, which really isn't a miscommunication at all, by the way. He's either running, I can't tell what he's running because he sits in the zone, which is what the receiver is supposed to do. I don't think it's an option route. I think what truly was, that was the play, and Tua sailed it because there was coverage underneath that he had to layer it over, and he doesn't have enough velocity to do that with a lower trajectory. So what happens? It sails. It happens to him literally all the time. So with that said, I mean, I have to think it's another issue with his arm. And he let it sail, and Christian Benford picked it off. It could have been miscommunication. Maybe it was a go route. Maybe it was a corner. But it didn't look like a corner to me. It looked like it potentially could have been a go. And even if it was, he shouldn't have thrown the ball. That's a spot throwing issue. There's a difference between anticipation and spot throwing. He was throwing to a spot on the field before the guy was even there. And it is anticipating that he will be there. But even if the guy is covered, he's still throwing it. That's stupid. This is why no one respects his game. I hope he gets healthy and heals up. But he probably, I mean, people are saying he should retire. I don't know if he should retire or not. I mean, that's up to him at the end of the day. But you can't do those things against good teams. This is why he loses against good teams, or the Dolphins lose against good teams. It's about the quarterback. So Buffalo's defense played awesome, and the offense was opportunistic and efficient. We're one of the highest efficiency. I think we're the number one highest efficiency team. We had a lot of short fields and things like that, but we capitalized on those mistakes. And that's fantastic going forward. The only concern I'd have going into this next week is who else steps up. Shakir is the obvious safety valve at this point, so he really needs to continue to be that, but they need someone on the outside to step up. Curtis Samuel, someone needs to come in and really do their job and make sure that they are getting other completions to other players, and Kincaid needs to do something other than catch screen passes as well. So there is a multitude of different things that we need to work on, but I think the other issue could be that we're just capitalized on who the open guy is, and that's Shakir, and we didn't need too much, so we decided to just throw it to him and not really focus on throwing to the boundary because we really didn't need that much as it relates to focusing on that part of the field, and we could run the ball and get the clock out. So it could be out of just like Joe Brady's really good at capitalizing on what the defense gives him, or it could be a legitimate issue where we have issues. Now, Jalen Ramsey did play against Coleman all game, so that's going to be a tough matchup for Coleman. Coleman isn't there yet, so that could be another problem. So we'll see. I think it was overall a really encouraging day. I think Buffalo is here to stay and back. Not that they ever left, but they'll have you believe that we were on the window being closed and all this other stuff. The window's not closed. We're here. It's our division to win. And we're on to Jacksonville next week. I will do a preview video for them tomorrow. And then we'll kind of do score predictions and such at that point. Kevin will be with me tomorrow on the show as well to recap Washington's game and do a preview on his show as well. Thanks for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a good one.